Hi guys, welcome back to the desk corner. Welcome to a new video. In today's video, we're going to be painting none other than Krampus himself. I know this is not very Christmassy, but I'm feeling kind of Grinchy this Christmas. I've already drawn a Grinch, by the way, and if you want to see that, I'll probably link that down below or something. So I decided that instead of doing something very jolly, we're going to be doing Krampus this year for Christmas. I'll probably do a voiceover so we could just get straight into this. But I'm going to be using my Sennelier watercolor paints, which I have here. I've also got my Albrecht Durer watercolor pencils just in case I need to use those for some detail work. And I've got, of course, some coffee in a Christmas mug too. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the painting. So I realize that this video is a day late, and I'd like to apologize for that, but I was out of town and so I couldn't finish the painting any sooner, unfortunately. But for those of you that celebrate, Merry Christmas Eve. And as you can see, I'm starting here by doing the background, which was kind of a flat wash. And the problem with a flat wash on hot pressed paper is it's really hard because the water seems to dry quite quickly when you want to do like a wet on wet type of technique. So that's okay though. I think I have kind of learned a little bit since painting the Grinch on hot pressed paper, and so I was able to use what I learned in this painting as well. Alright, so I'm working on the face now with watercolor pencils, the Albrecht Durers, and I'm glad I used those to work on the face because some of those little details would have been really difficult for me to get with a paintbrush since I'm not very skilled at doing that or using the tip of the paintbrush. And then I also used the pencil to kind of create some of where the fur from the hat is going to be, although this part I'm not really sure if that was the best way to go about it because I ended up wanting to go over it with a layer of paint anyways. But yeah, and so I'm using a lot of blues and purples because I wanted the theme of this to be icy and cold, and that's how the reference photo struck me as. And speaking of the reference photo, it actually took me a super long time to find a reference photo I wanted to use because they're all very similar, and in the movie Krampus, he's actually not really showing his face in most of the movie. So it's hard to find a still image, but I was able to find this one and I'm glad I did because I love the vibe that this piece gives me. I'm now going in and working with some pink. I wanted to add a bit of a pinkish reddish tone to certain areas too. So even though this is a very much bluish purple painting, there are some hints of red, especially because the entire toy chest that he's holding, or the entire sack of toys and presents, well, they're not actually presents because this is Krampus and not Santa, but since that's red, I thought it would be fun to add some hints of that throughout the painting as well, so it's not only this moody blue icy color, but for the most part it is very icy and cold and just, I don't know, it's just a very cool toned painting. But I really enjoyed creating this year. I have done a Krampus fan art before, but it was really just a sketch, very small sketch in my sketchbook, and this time it's actually a full-sized piece. Oh my gosh, you guys can see I'm painting now the sack of quote-unquote presents, and because of the hot pressed paper, I just found it really difficult to get an even layer for the first wash. That's okay because upon multiple layers I'm able to fix that, but I do have to do quite a few layers on the paper in order to get rid of streaks and stuff like that. Could just be the way I'm painting, but this seems to be an issue I have with hot pressed paper, although I'm very determined to use up my hot pressed paper because I have quite a few sheets of it left and I'm pretty much out of cold pressed, so I am going to buy a new one that's cold pressed, maybe a couple pads of that, but I don't want my hot press to go to waste, so I'll be determined to finish some paintings with them. So therefore it's good that I've done a couple already because I'm starting to get the hang of it, I guess I would say. Oh, you guys can see me going in and adding some purple, well, adding some blue to make purple as well for the shadows. And then I'm just building up some of the darks. So building up dark shadows is something I struggle with watercolor. Sometimes I might even overdo it because I want to get that contrast. And since watercolor can be transparent, it's hard to get that contrast compared to using other media sometimes. But you can see that I'm kind of just layering up with dark indigo, black, and some other blue, like indanthrone blue, to try and get a really nice deep color without just using straight up black, which gives you kind of this grayish undertone. I decided that the contrast in the background wasn't matching the contrast in the painting, so I went back and added that again. And by the way, that was indigo that I was using in the background as well. And then you see I'm just creating more shadows here in the hand. So there's something funny here in this area. I wasn't really sure what was going on because there was something blocking this part of the picture in the reference photo where the hand is. You can see on the left hand side there. I kind of just had to make up that portion because it wasn't visible in the reference photo. So if it looks a little bit funny, then that is probably why. But in the end, I think I did a pretty good job of making that up. And then I decided to make the coat very dirty because it also looked very dirty in the reference. Of course, he wouldn't have a perfectly white coat because this is not Santa, it is Krampus, and he is quite dirty. So because of that, I didn't really leave too much actual white on the coat, just a few highlights here and there to show that it's lighter than the rest of the painting. And then I just continued working on his hand. You can see that I really went for this purplish skin tone. It had to differentiate itself from the surrounding area. I couldn't make it the same blue as the background and the fur coat and the beard, of course, so I decided to go with more of a purple. I don't think it was quite too purple in the reference photo. It had a little bit of a hint of purple, but I definitely played that up in this painting. And then I'm just deepening up that red in the background and making it muddy, just a little bit dirty too in some areas, creating some shadows, because that's how it looked. It's not this beautiful red bright color, but it's more like a shadowed red with a bit of purple too in some of the shadowed areas, because it is in some kind of snowstorm that this reference photo is taking place, the scene of the movie, the still that it's from. There's a snowstorm going on and it's kind of a scary scene as well. So I wanted to make sure that this painting had a nice scary vibe to it. In case you don't know much about Krampus, well, I don't know much about Krampus either, but the movie came out in 2015 in the US. It is a pretty wide release movie, so if you have not seen it, you've probably heard of it, but it's a horror movie taking place during Christmas time, and a boy is kind of losing his Christmas spirit, having issues with his family during Christmas time as they all gather together. And this leads to, unfortunately, an encounter with Krampus, and I won't spoil anything else because for those of you that haven't seen it, I recommend you go watch it. It's a horror movie, it's kind of dark, but it's also kind of funny at times too. It's not extremely scary or anything like that. It's definitely not the most joyful thing to watch on Christmas though. It's got some good actors in it though. Toni Collette is in it, as well as Adam Scott, and I think there's a couple other faces that I remember too in there. But yeah, check it out if you have not seen it and if you do enjoy horror movies, because it is pretty great. And so the legend of Krampus originated, I'm not exactly sure when and where, but it's confirmed it was pre-Christian era, I think, or believed to be pre-Christian era, and the name Krampus is derived from Germany, so the name is German. And that is pretty much all I know about it. So it's kind of like a legend or lore, and because of the movie that came out in 2015, I was made aware of Krampus. Before that, I didn't really know that he even existed, and now you can kind of just think of him as an anti-Santa Claus. But back to my painting. The majority of this painting is spent me trying to darken up some of the shadows because there were quite a few shadows in here. One of his eyes is actually blocked by a shadow as well, and the other one I made this bright yellowish greenish color just to make him all the more creepy. I kind of played it up a little bit from what I saw in the reference photo and just wanted to make it stand out a bit more. Also, we've got these really terrible looking hands that he has with his really long claws or nails. He is holding a crumpled up Christmas note, and what you can't see is, well, I cut it out. There's supposed to be a little boy in this photo too standing in front of him, but I cut that out and just continued his beard instead because I just wanted this to solely be Krampus, and he's holding up the crumpled up Christmas note of that little boy in the movie. So here's a scan of how this painting turned out in the end. I just wanted you guys to see it completely because I didn't finish it all on camera. Unfortunately, being pressed for time, I kind of just had to work on it here and there whenever I could. and this is how it looks. Now, looking at the scan here compared to the footage, you could see because of the, levels of brightness being adjusted and everything, it actually has a lot more contrast than how it looks in the video portion of this, in the sped up process. So this is how the painting actually turned out. You could see I did the chains and nails off camera, as well as his rings and the little crumpled up note, and just added a couple more details to the eye and added some snow falling as well. And I'm pretty happy with how this painting turned out, you guys. Let me know what you think of it. I think I might just include scanned images of my artwork when I can, because it kind of just shows how different the portrayal is from the video portion to how it actually is when you scan it, just because of how the light reflects and everything on camera. But yeah, I hope that you guys are having a happy holiday. I will see you again next week for a regular, non-holiday related video. You're probably getting a little tired of all the holiday stuff, but yeah, please enjoy it with your family, and I'm sorry for just the lack of longer videos lately. It's been difficult with family things going on and just everything being busy, but I'm going to try to get back into the groove of everything. So I will see you guys very soon. Thank you as always for watching. Don't forget to leave a comment down below and a like if you enjoyed this video, and subscribe for more. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Bye.